Hello, English learners, and welcome. I'm your host, Paul. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Excited to chat about English learning today.
When you're trying to watch a movie in English or maybe follow a really fast conversation, and it just feels like
Yeah.
all the words are just blurring together.
Oh, absolutely. You might catch a word here or there, but mostly it's just this rush of sound.
Yeah, and that little voice pops up thinking, oh no, maybe my English just isn't good enough yet. It's super common, right?
It really is. So many learners feel that way, and honestly, it can be pretty discouraging. But the good news is that feeling, it usually doesn't have much to do with how good your English actually is.
Okay, that's a relief to hear. And that's exactly what we want to dig into today. We're on a mission, really, to break down why fast English feels so challenging.
And crucially, give you some solid, actionable strategies to, get a better handle on it.
Exactly. So by the end of this, hopefully you'll feel a lot more confident tuning into that faster-paced English.
And for this deep dive, we're drawing on insights from the English Learning Podcast. They really focus on these specific hurdles learners face, so their perspective is super helpful.
Perfect. Okay, so let's jump right in. Why does English sometimes sound like it's on fast forward?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people's first thought is, well, maybe English speakers just talk faster than everyone else.
Yeah, that's a natural assumption. But actually, it's less about raw speed, like words per minute, and much more about how native speakers connect and pronounce words.
How they're strung together, you mean?
Precisely. There are sort of three main things happening. Connected speech, what we call word reductions, and also how unstressed words work in English.
Okay, three things.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that first one, connected speech.
Hmm.
What's the core idea there?
Well, think about it like this. Instead of saying each word completely separately, like, what are you doing, with little pauses,
Right.
native speakers tend to link the end sound of one word right into the beginning sound of the next. It makes everything flow much more smoothly.
Okay, so that what are you doing example becomes more like one smooth sound, like what you're doing.
Exactly. What you're doing. That blending is it's fundamental to natural spoken English. Or another really common one. Did you eat?
Okay. How does that change?
Well, instead of a very clear did you deet, you'll very often hear something much closer to did ya eat.
Oh, yeah. Did you eat? I can totally hear that. So if you're listening expecting every single syllable distinctly, that linking must be really confusing.
It really can be. It's like you're expecting separate beads, but you're actually hearing a smooth string, you know?
That's a great way to put it. Okay, so that's connected speech. What was the second reason English sounds fast?
Word reductions. These are basically the little shortcuts we take all the time in casual speech.
You mean like the classic example of going to turning into gonna?
Exactly that. That's a perfect example. It's just more efficient when speaking. And we do it with lots of common phrases, like want to often becomes wanna.
Right, wanna. And sometimes you even combine them, don't you? Like, do you want to can become,
You wanna, yeah, even shorter.
do you want to grab lunch?
Okay.
Okay. What are some others?
Got to very often becomes gotta, like I gotta go.
Okay, gotta. Makes sense.
And of course, simple contractions are a form of reduction too, right? I am is I'm, he will is he'll. It just helps the words flow more easily.
Definitely speeds things up. But I can see how for a learner it might feel like bits of words are just vanishing.
That feeling of words disappearing is very real, and it leads right into the third point. Unstressed words. This is huge for the rhythm of English.
Unstressed words.
Yeah.
Okay, how does that make things sound faster?
Well, in English, not every word gets the same level of emphasis or stress. Some words, usually the important content, words like nouns and verbs, are stressed. They're louder, a bit longer, clearer.
Okay.
But other words, often the small grammatical words like to, the I is, are is, they become unstressed. They get weaker, faster, almost swallowed up.
Can you give us an example? That would help.
Sure, take a simple sentence. I went to the store. A learner might expect to hear, I went to the store. Each word clear.
Right. Equal weight.
But how it's usually said is more like, I went to the store. See how to and the become really quick and weak, like to and the.
Yeah. I went to the store. Okay, I totally hear that. Those little words just get glossed over.
Exactly. They glide by to put the focus on went and store. So you combine that linking, the reductions like gonna and these weak, unstressed sounds.
And you get something that sounds way faster than textbook English.
Precisely. But it's not about your vocabulary. It's about getting used to this natural sound of spoken English.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. We understand the why. So now let's focus on the what. When we're actually listening, what are the specific features of fast English we should really try to tune into?
Good question. Knowing why is one thing, but identifying what's happening as you listen is key. And it really builds on what we just talked about. We can think about three main features again: linking sounds, those word reductions, and something called dropped sounds.
Linking sounds again, right? We mentioned that. Maybe some more concrete examples.
Yeah.
Things people can actively listen for.
Definitely. So think about how the end sound of one word can just completely merge into the start of the next, like turn it off. You'll almost always hear that as turn it off. That end sound flows right into the I, and the T flows right into the I. It's like one long word.
Turn it off. Yeah, it really does sound like one word. Another example.
How about I need a nap? Listen closely and you'll often hear I need a nap.
Need it. Okay, so the D at the end of need just sort of blends into the A.
Exactly. It's a really smooth connection. Super common with consonant sounds followed by vowel sounds.
Okay, got it. Linking.
Mm.
And then we have word reductions again. You said they're really central.
They really are so important. They're worth hitting again with those specific examples. We talked about I am going to becoming I'm gonna.
Right, I'm gonna, and
Going.
do you want to?
And what are you doing?
Turning into.
Well, what are you doing? Yeah. These happen constantly. They make speech faster and smoother for native speakers, but they can feel like a code to crack if you're expecting the full forms.
It's like trying to recognize someone in disguise. Okay, and the third feature you mentioned was dropped sounds. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, this is where sometimes, especially in very casual, fast speech, certain sounds inside a word might not get fully pronounced, or they might even disappear altogether.
Really? Like what? Give us an example.
Okay, think about the word internet. How often do you actually hear someone carefully say internet?
Not often. It usually sounds more like...
Internet.
Right, yeah, internet. The T sound kind of vanishes.
Exactly. That middle T often gets softened or dropped completely. It happens a lot with T sounds, actually. Another big one. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. How does that change?
Very often in fast, relaxed speech, it becomes, I don't know.
Oh, wow. I don't know. Yeah, the T and down is just gone.
Completely gone. So those missing sounds definitely add to that feeling of, wait, did I miss a word?
For sure. Okay, so linking sounds, word reductions, and drop sounds. Putting those together really explains why real-life conversation sounds so different from, say, an audio course.
It really does. It highlights the gap between textbook English and real-world English.
Okay, this is all super helpful for understanding the problem. Now, the big question. How do we actually train our ears to deal with all this? What are the strategies?
Right. This is the crucial part. How do we actually improve? And the good news is there are effective ways to train your listening skills for this.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's hear strategy number 1.
Strategy 1 is to train progressively. Start listening with slower audio, then gradually move to normal speed.
Okay, that makes sense. Like warming up your ears. How would someone actually do that?
Well, you can take almost any audio, like a podcast or a YouTube video, and use the playback speed controls. Start by listening at maybe 0.75x speed.
Ah, using those speed settings.
Yeah, it just gives your brain a bit more time to process the sounds, the links, the reductions, once you feel comfortable understanding it slower.
And you bump it back up to normal speed.
Exactly. Listen again at 1x speed. You're basically letting your brain get familiar with the content and the sounds before facing the full speed.
That's smart. Most platforms have that feature now, right? YouTube, Netflix.
Yep, most do. Makes it pretty easy to implement.
Great. Okay, what's strategy number 2?
Strategy 2, listen and read at the same time. Use transcripts or subtitles.
Okay, so connecting the sound with the text, how does that help specifically with fast speech?
It's incredibly powerful because your brain starts directly mapping the sounds you're hearing, including all those connected bits and reduced forms to the actual words on the page. You see going to while you hear gonna.
Ah, I see. It helps you decode what's actually being said when it sounds different from how it's written.
Precisely. It helps you recognize those patterns, the linking, the reductions, the dropped sounds much more easily.
What kind of materials work best for this? Podcasts with transcripts.
Yeah, podcasts with transcripts are great. Audiobooks where you have the text are perfect too. Or even TV shows and movies using accurate subtitles.
And you'd maybe listen first with the text, then try without.
That's a great approach. Listen and read, then test yourself by listening again without the text. See how much more you catch.
Okay, solid strategy. What's number 3?
Strategy number 3 is a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing. I've
Uh-huh.
heard of that. Can you break down exactly what it is?
Sure. Shadowing is basically listening to a short chunk of audio, like a sentence or phrase, and then immediately repeating it out loud. You try to mimic everything, the pronunciation, the speed, the rhythm, the intonation, like an echo.
So if I hear, what do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
I immediately try to say, what do you want to do? Exactly the same way.
Exactly like that. Right after you hear it. It might feel a bit strange at first,
I can imagine.
but it's incredibly effective. It trains your ear to catch the nuances of fast, natural speech, and it simultaneously improves your own pronunciation and fluency because you're actively producing those sounds and rhythms.
Wow. Okay, so it helps listening and speaking. That sounds really powerful. What's strategy 4?
Strategy 4 involves a shift in focus. Concentrate on understanding the main keywords, not every single tiny word.
Ah, okay. Because learners often try to catch everything, right? Every single A and D.
Exactly. And that's often counterproductive because, as we've said, native speakers don't always pronounce those small function words clearly anyway. Trying to catch every single syllable can just make you fall behind and miss the main point.
So what should we focus on instead? The important words.
Yes. Focus your energy on the content, words, the nouns, main verbs, adjectives, adverbs. These carry the core message. For instance, if you hear, do you want to grab some coffee later, maybe?
Okay.
Instead of stressing about catching do you or maybe, focus on hearing wanna grab coffee later. Those give you the main idea. Someone's suggesting coffee.
Right. Get the gist from the key pieces. That takes some pressure off. Okay. And the 5th strategy.
The 5th one is simple, but maybe the most important. Consistency. Listen to English every single day, even if it's just for 5 minutes.
It's 5 minutes. Does that really make a difference?
It really does over time. It's about consistent exposure. The more you expose your ears to the natural flow, rhythm, and sounds of English, the more your brain adapts. It starts to become familiar.
So a little bit every day is better than one long session once a week.
Absolutely. Find short things, a podcast clip, a YouTube short, an English song you like. Just make it a daily habit. Your ears will gradually tune in, and fast English will start to feel less overwhelming.
Okay, great. Let's quickly recap those 5. 1. Train slow to fast. 2. Listen and read together. 3. Practice shadowing. 4. Focus on keywords. 5. Listen every single day. Those seem like really concrete steps.
They are. And now that you have these strategies, the next step is applying them to real-world listening.
Right. Because girls are one thing, but understanding actual conversations is the goal.
Exactly. The best way to get good at understanding fast, natural English is, well, to listen to fast, natural English. You need exposure to how real people actually talk.
Makes sense. So how can we get that exposure effectively? What are some methods?
Okay, method 1. Watch TV shows, movies, and YouTube videos that have lots of natural, everyday dialogue.
What kind of shows work well for that? Things like sitcoms.
Yeah, sitcoms like Friends or The Office or Modern Family can be great because they're full of casual, everyday chat. On YouTube, look for things like interviews, vlogs, panel discussions, anything where people are talking spontaneously, not reading a script.
Good tip, look for unscripted stuff.
Yeah,
And again, maybe start with subtitles, then try without.
definitely. Use subtitles as a tool, then challenge yourself without them. Method 2 is to listen to podcasts that feature real conversations.
Like this one, hopefully.
Exactly. Podcasts where people are just talking naturally, interviewing guests, having discussions. They're perfect because they capture that back and forth, the interruptions, the natural pace.
And how can we listen to podcasts actively for this?
Try pausing frequently. After a sentence or two, pause and repeat it out loud. Try to match the speaker's speed and intonation. It forces you to really listen closely to the details.
Okay, active repetition. Got it. And method number 3, for practicing with real conversations.
Method 3 is the most direct. Actually talk to people, have conversations in English.
Easier said than done sometimes, but yeah, makes sense.
If you have English-speaking friends or colleagues, try to chat with them more. If not, look into online language exchange programs. There are tons of platforms connecting learners with native speakers.
Okay, and what if you don't have someone to talk to right at that moment?
Here's a little trick. Talk to yourself.
Really? Talk to myself in English?
Yeah. Narrate what you're doing, explain something out loud, have a pretend conversation. It sounds a bit weird, maybe, but it gets you practicing forming thoughts and speaking at a conversational pace without the pressure of a real interaction.
Huh. Never thought of that. Okay, so the practice methods.
Yeah.
Watch real dialogue in shows, videos, listen actively to conversational podcasts, and actually talk either with others or even yourself.
Those are great ways to immerse yourself. And Tied into all this practice, there's a really important mindset shift that can make a huge difference.
Okay, a mindset shift. What is it?
It's about consciously trying to stop translating in your head.
Ah, yeah. Listening, translating to your native language, then understanding. That takes time, doesn't it?
Way too much time. By the time you've mentally translated sentence 1, the speaker is already on sentence 3. You fall behind instantly.
So what's the alternative? How do we stop doing that?
You need to train your brain to start thinking in English more directly. Native speakers aren't translating, they're just processing the meaning straight away.
Okay, think in English. How do we actually practice that while listening?
One key way is to start recognizing common phrases or chunks of language as single units.
Like vocabulary chunks.
Exactly. Instead of hearing, "What do you want to do?" and translating each word, train yourself to recognize, "What do you want to do?" as one block that means, "What activity are you suggesting?"
Okay, recognizing phrases as whole units. What else helps with thinking in English?
It ties back to focusing on the main idea, not every single word, except that you might not catch every preposition or article.
Right, like we discussed with keywords.
Yeah, even native speakers don't consciously register every single word. We get the gist from the important parts and the context. So aim for overall comprehension, not perfect word-for-word understanding. Don't beat yourself up if you miss small words.
That's really freeing, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so the mindset shift. Stop translating word by word, learn to recognize common phrases as chunks, and focus on the main message. That feels like a big mental adjustment.
It is, but it's incredibly powerful for improving listening speed.
Yeah.
And to help make all this really concrete, let's wrap up with a few quick daily exercises you can do.
Excellent. Actionable exercises. Let's hear them.
Okay, exercise 1, the 1-minute listening challenge. Find a short 1-minute audio clip, podcast segment, news report, whatever.
Okay, 1 minute.
First, listen without any text. Just see what you can grasp. Then listen again, this time with the transcript or subtitles. Check what you understood, what you missed.
Right. Compare and learn.
Finally, listen one more time without the text. See how much more you understand now compared to the first time. It's a focused little workout.
I like that. Short, focused, repeatable. What's exercise 2?
Exercise 2 is just making shattering a dedicated practice. We talked about the technique that now make it a daily habit, just 5 minutes. Find some audio, listen, echo immediately. Focus on rhythm and speed.
Okay, dedicated shadowing practice. Got it. And number 3.
Exercise 3, listen and summarize. After listening to a short piece of audio, maybe a few minutes of a podcast or a short news story, try to summarize the main points out loud in English.
Ah, so you're forcing yourself to process the meaning, not just the words.
Exactly. It shifts your focus from individual words to overall comprehension and message extraction. Can you retell the main ideas in your own words?
Great exercise. Okay, so the 3 daily exercises.
Yeah.
The 1-minute listening challenge, listen plus read, listen again. Daily shadowing practice, and listen and summarize. Fantastic practical tips.
Hopefully helpful. And that brings us towards the end of our deep dive.
Yeah, this has been incredibly insightful. We've really unpacked why fast English is tricky. But more importantly, we've got a whole toolkit of strategies and exercises now to actually improve. It feels much less mysterious.
That's the goal. And if there's one key thing to take away, it's really that point about patience and mindset. Please don't get discouraged if you don't understand everything immediately.
Right. It's a skill. It takes time.
Exactly. Listening to fast English is a skill you develop with practice, just like any other. Be kind to yourself, keep at it consistently, and you will see improvement.
That's great encouragement. So do you have a final challenge for everyone listening? Something to put into action?
I do. Here's the challenge. For the next 7 days, commit to trying just one of the daily exercises we talked about. Just
Yes.
one.
Okay, 7 days, 1 exercise. Like what?
Maybe you'll do the 1-minute listening challenge each morning. Or perhaps 5 minutes of shadowing before bed. Or maybe just actively try to think in English while listening to a song on your commute. Pick one thing that feels doable and stick with it for a week.
That sounds like a perfect starting point. Really achievable. And we'd love to hear how it goes.
Absolutely. Let us know. Share your experiences in the comments. Send us a message. Tell us which exercise you chose and how you're finding it. We're genuinely interested.
Definitely. And if you found this useful, maybe share it with other English learners you know.
Please do. And don't forget to check out the English Learning Podcast for more great resources. They were our source for today's insights.
Fantastic. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening,
Yeah.
keep practicing, keep listening, and don't give up. You've got this. We'll catch you in the next deep dive.
Take care, everyone. Happy learning.